What's up, guys? So today I already kind of went through some flow just because I was like, what am I going to play today, right? We had another really bearish day. So I kind of just want to look through that, possibilities of both a bounce for the call side and some negative on the put side. But I also want to answer some questions I didn't get to yesterday later on towards the end of the stream. So to be more time efficient, I kind of broke down some flow already. And the four tickers, before I even start, that I really like for tomorrow are NEO, SNAP, AFRM, and AAL. So going through the flow. So one that really sticks out to me is SNAP. When looking at the flow, something that is really curious to me is most of these puts are pretty deep in the money, right? Even the lowest one here is this 125.35 or 121.35 put, and that's in the money. And one thing when looking at Snap's overall chart, it has been holding up pretty well in a pretty weak market, but there's a massive gap below, so I like that a lot. Calls are getting hit pretty well, but we do have this 318.27 put, which is the gap target. A ton of volume compared to open interest. So that's something I really like there a lot. So, we could have that big play to the downside as well as the upside possible bounce, depending, on the market and what goes on there. So the second ticker is AAL. AAL, SNAP, and NEO are all small account plays that can definitely be played on a small account. I like that a lot as well. AFRM, you have to get a little bit further out of the money, but it's got some weird stuff going on as well. So looking at AAL flow, first thing I noticed is a 5 put. I know it's for 2 years, but still, a 119.2024 5 put. That's literally $11 move on a stock that moves, maybe $1 total. And then other things that stick out here, we have these 17, 18 calls getting hit pretty nice for this week. Up to a 20.5 call, which I think is a little bit out of the money, but whatever. Then we also have puts getting hit, 16.5, 17s, 13 put here, 617, as low as a 16 put. So I like that a lot. Even just looking at this little chart here on AAL, if we can get under, about 16 area in here, there's not much support. It has been pretty big support, but underneath that, we could have a nice flush down. As AAL does go off the market a lot as well, so I'm going to watch that. But that flow really sticks out, especially that 119.2024 5 put. Next ticker is NEO. So one thing before I even talk about flow with NEO is yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, the news was released that China cut their lending rates again. So most Chinese stocks gapped overnight. That's something nice to see. NEO stayed green. It was a very ugly candle, but the flow here is pretty nice on NEO in terms of both sides. One thing really sticks out, 120.2023 100 call is getting hit, 119.2024 50 call. So these are possible, bottoms, longer term investments, but we also have 121, 30, 31, and 32 calls getting hit, as well as the 30 puts and the 29 puts. So this could be a big move either way. NEO's at a pretty big spot to hold as well, so I like that play a lot. It will go off of SPY, but if the Hong Kong market rallies overnight, I would expect a possible gap up. So that's something to watch there as well. Let's see, AFRM. AFRM took a beating today when Peloton fell. Hopefully some of you guys got in Peloton. That was a pretty big drop, a lot of gains to be made there. But AFRM fell because they do a lot of the financing with Peloton. So that's something that really stood out. It dropped but was bought up pretty fast. But this flow is really weird, and something that really interests me is this 218.2022 100 call. That's way out of the money, and it's a month out, but that's a big move. 75 call getting hit as well. Short term, we got these 60 puts, 65 puts, all the way down to 50 puts. So that's nice to see as well. We get up to 70 calls, 65 calls, 121. Cool. So I like that a lot. A possible bounce or some downside down to people are targeting these 50 and 55 puts. So that's something really cool to see as well. I like all 4 of those plays in terms of the flow. If the overall market tanks tomorrow, Snap and Microsoft are going to be my top watches. I don't really like Microsoft to the upside right now, but if the market tanks, there's a bunch of gap down for Microsoft. So if we do have a weak market, I will probably play Microsoft tomorrow. All right, so looking at levels. First thing I noticed on Snap are just, this massive gap, right? For the put side, I'm going to use underneath the bottom of this gap, which I believe 39.52. So I'm going to use 34.5 as my put trigger here on Snap. We do have a gap fill all the way down to 29 area, but in terms of targeting on the downside, I'm just going to use psych levels, the 0.5s and the whole numbers to kind of just get more of a possible bounce area and also give myself some targets. So I'll just put this one 34 and keep going down all the way. But there is that massive gap fill, hardly any VPA. This could really tank, but people are holding up pretty well in terms of this gap. This gap up here was also held up pretty nice for a while until we have a terrible earnings report, crashes down, so I like that. In terms of a call trigger, so this one's definitely going to be a little bit more congestion, but I have noticed that over the past couple days, 37 has been a big level that Snap has tried to test and hasn't really done too well with on the upside. See if this thing will zoom in for me. All right, so for my call trigger, I'm going to go right underneath. I'm going to use this 35.45 as my call trigger because it's acted as resistance here on the 15. A lot of support here before ultimately bouncing. So I like that a lot. In terms of a possible, places where I'm going to look to scale, this first area here, about 35.62, is definitely a big area on the 15. A lot of support here, some support and resistance in here. That's nice. And then the next big level I notice is right around 35.95, 35.92. I'm put 35.92. Don't want to get too crazy. Right underneath that 36 psych level. And then over that, I like that POC there around 36.17, 36. Put it in at 36.15. But this definitely has range up to around 37 area, so I like that a lot as well on the upside and the downside, the massive gap. Hey dog, can you relax? Thank you. Dog's over here throwing his bone around. All right, Neo. So Neo, right off the gap or the start, it gaps up. Pretty nice calls earlier. Then you could play some puts earlier, which is nice to see as well. In terms of a call trigger here on Neo, let's see. I like this level here, 29.6, right over here for my first, for the call trigger. I like that. It's acted as support and resistance. But the real big area I noticed on Neo is right here was a support, big resistance, tested again before bouncing. So that's nice to see. Over that, I like it. This level here, 29.8, is going to be a big level. And it is a Friday, so I'm not going to get anywhere near unreasonable with my price targets just because, I want to lock in those profits fast. We don't have very much time on our side. So I'm also going to play strikes that are either at the money or one OTM just because, we don't have that time on our side. Next level that's really big here is this level at 30.15, and I like that a lot as a second target. Provides a pretty decent move on the upside as well, so that's cool to see. On the downside, the put side. So the first thing, this area here is going to be big, but I don't want to go too crazy low or too crazy high. But in terms, geez, I can't even see. In terms of a put trigger, I like this level here at 28.7. Flip this to blue. I'm going to look at it on the hourly and kind of give you guys a little bit better of what I see. So this 28.7 level was tested in here, almost tested again. It is resistance here, support before bouncing, and then support level here. So I like that a lot. The first level on the downside that I really notice being pretty big is 28.5, another big psych level, and before it bounced, that's the level it tested. So that's going to be my first target. And then underneath that, there's not too much crazy I notice until right here around 28 to 28.05. I'm going to put this at 28, big psych level. So I like that a lot. We had some consolidation in here before bouncing, some consolidation bounces, but I do like those levels a lot. And on Neo, it moves pretty well. Premiums aren't that overpriced, so that's one I like a lot in terms of a play to both sides. Let's see, AFRM. So AFRM's charts, a little bit more congestion, a lot built up in these areas, but in terms of a call trigger, I like this level. Hey dog, relax. I like this level right about, let's see. I'm going to need to use the 15. These levels aren't as good as I'd like. All right, cool. So the first level I noticed, is down here, but that's pretty close to our finishing price, so I don't want to use that level. I'm going to use the bottom of this zone here and here. It's been tops multiple times at 64.7. Let's see. I don't know why it won't let me. All right, right here. So it's been, bottoms here, tops here. I like that, 64.7. The first place I really think we'll run into some congestion is up here at this level, which is 65.35. Dog, if you don't relax back there. So I'm going to put, 65.35. I like that a lot. On the upside, gives us a pretty good move, especially on a Friday. So I like that a lot. And then over that, this level here is really big. What is this? All right, this VPA is showing a little bit more to me here. So at 65.95 is another huge level. It looks like I'm going to put that as my second target. I like that a lot as well. And then on the downside, wow. Okay, so after hours, AFRM is definitely pretty low. That's fine. I'm going to use 61.45, which is the low here. That's a lie. Low here as my put trigger, 61.45. And then underneath that, I'm really watching these zones. The low here, 60.89, and then the low here at 59.2. So 60 point, that'll work for now. Flip this to yellow real quick. And then underneath that, what's the low of this? 59.2. So people were buying that up pretty fast there at 59.22. Let's look at the hourly to see, why it bounced there. All right, so, geez Louise. All right, we're going to go to the daily. Obviously, have not seen these levels in a while. Okay, but that's definitely a big zone. If we notice here. And then an even bigger zone below that looks like about 57.5 to be a big zone. I think that, that's going to take a pretty big market drop to get down there, but it is definitely possible. And if we look on the upside here of this daily candle, that's a massive zone, right about 69. What's the high on this? 69.3. If we see here, these are big zones, big resistances. So that's going to be kind of hard to break to the upside. I like the downside as well. Nice looking head and shoulders formation here on the daily. So I like that play a lot. And then the last one, AAL. AAL's definitely had some ugly days, I'll tell you that much. But if we look here on the daily, right, if we break past this support here, AAL can plummet down to this 14 level and even down to this bigger VPA around 13. So that's something with some definite downside as well. In terms of call and put trigger, oh boy, I'm going to use the hourly for the put trigger on this one as well. So the first zones I noticed, up in here, there's some definite turbulence, but I'm going to use 16.6 as my put trigger. And the reason why I like that zone is because, it was a resistance here, support multiple times here, And I like that a lot. And if we test that, even bigger support and resistance here, I like that a lot. The first zone I really notice is down here about 16.4 on this hourly chart. 16.4, cool. And then underneath that, we have room to fall, most definitely. But those are going to be, AAL doesn't move all that fast, so I'm going to keep those zones kind of set and really look for those. And then on the upside, I'm going to use 15-minute. Just kind of break down this upside a little bit better. I'm going to use this right here at 17. Very big support, and then ultimately before it fell, couldn't hold that 17 level. So I like 17 as my call trigger. And then right here about 17.13 for my first target on the upside. And then over that, I like this level here at about 17.3. Put it at 17.25. Don't want to get too crazy unreasonable. But I like those levels a lot. We do have the POC all the way up here at 17.4. So I like that in terms of, both sides. Has that weird flow with the 5 put. But this is one that could go both ways, has significant downside, as well as possible for a bounce here off a pretty big support level. So that's something I like to see as well. All right, I'm going to go look at any comments. Keep missing with Neo, just been getting in late too many times. So yeah, with Neo today, actually, it broke way above my call trigger, but I did play Neo earlier in the day. I put it out. Actually, I don't think I tweeted it out. So what I did with Neo earlier was I played it right over here, off of this hold of the 29.8 level, 29.75, 29.8. We had a bunch of lower wicks with some increasing volume in here, and we had this little wedge after a nice gap up, gap and go. So I was able to play it here, took some profit out on this candle here, which, in the end looks like I missed some profit, but I was able to lock in gains. And Baba was the other one that I played today. And the reason for that was China was hot. We had those, here, I'll actually flip over the Baba chart. I think it's still annotated. No, it's not. All right, so what I saw here was this double bottom with a nice hammer candle. Volume's not crazy great or anything, but I entered here on this candle, and the reason being, a double bottom, nice buy up off this support level and a little pop, so I was only able to get a little scalp. I think it was like 11% or something like that, but it was a nice little play. And the reason that I played Baba is just because the Chinese market was hot. Baba thrives off of, the economics of China as it is. It does stuff, I don't even really know what Baba does. I believe it's like the Chinese Amazon type deal, but it was hot. And then also at 10 a.m. this morning, there was a 114,000 premium on 134 calls for 121. So, that gave me some confidence there. Let's see, at 10 a.m. It was at 10:04, I believe. That would have been this candle here. Interesting, to say the least. But, that gave me some confidence that buyers are definitely willing to step in, put some big money on it. So that's something I liked a lot there with Baba. And then, the reason I was able to trade this and not let it turn red was because, I just didn't get greedy. And I think that's a big thing with beginning traders, is we oftentimes get very greedy and go for these home run plays, such as Peloton today. I saw someone tweet 27,000% or something like that, which is absolutely insane. But that's not something that's going to happen every day, right? So just creating this discipline and these rules so that we can lock in profits and compound these profits is really something that helps a lot when it comes to building up a smaller account. Let's see if there's any more questions. All right, not very many more questions, but as always with Friday, lock in the profits fast. Things are going to move. We don't have time on our side, so I'm going to go about it looking at take those 10 to 20%. Don't know what the market's going to do. It's a Friday, going to be higher volatility. I'm also had another bearish day, so I'm going to lock in my profits quick, leave some runners if needed. But if there's a ticker, you know, that I'm not really too comfortable with playing, and it's kind of chopping around zones, I'm perfectly fine playing next week expirations. So that's something, you know, to keep in mind as well. If you want something that's a little bit less risk and also will avoid that chop a little bit more, can always play next week expirations.